not if you're doing straight DC, okay? So as far as the unit, you turn it on. You select DC continuous, because you need continuous DC. None of the ACs, whatever. This knob is ineffective with DC continuous. There's no pulsing, it's just on until you turn it off. You don't want surge or anything else. You could switch the polarity if you needed to, and that would make this negative, that positive. But leave it just DC continuous. For the time, you're not going to know what the time is until you see what intensity they can take. Maximum of 5 milliamps. So you can either set it for 20 minutes or something, and once you determine the intensity, set another timer, or you could set timer bypass, so it's counting up, set another timer. This just isn't going to correct for you. You just want to have enough time that it's not going to cut off before it's delivered on the medication. So if you haven't treated them before, I'd probably do timer bypass, and then hit go, and it would go. Okay? So for this, we have a couple of medications that you could use. We have Aspartame. This one's a little liquidier than this one's more of a solid. But small concentration is all you need. So it's just a little bitty dab. This is salicylate, so it's negative. Hydrocortisone is positive. So whichever medication you have the script for that you're using, a little bit on your finger, rub it into the area where you're going to treat. Choose the same polarity. So we would put this over the hydrocortisone, this one elsewhere, this over the salicylate, this one elsewhere. Strap them on, good contact. Okay? You get them set up, get them comfortable, then all you do is hit go, start turning up the intensity. This one's just comfortable sensory, so this one will go way above 5 milliamps. You only need to go up to 5 milliamps. So you start turning it up, and they say, oh, okay, that's as much as I can take. Okay, you look at what it is, you set your time accordingly. If you get up to 5, and they're like, I'm not feeling anything yet, okay. It's doing its thing. They don't have to feel it. 5's the max you go. You set your timer for 8 minutes. With this, since it doesn't cut off itself, if you just come and turn the unit off when your timer goes off, and you do want to be pretty close or have an idea, you know, so that it doesn't go off and then you wait another 2 minutes to come back in. It's still delivering medication, supposedly, that whole time. So you want to come in pretty quickly after your timer's gone off. Don't just turn the unit off. With this DC continuous, it'll give them a little bite if you just disconnect the current. So you want to turn it down, then turn it off with the DC continuous. Okay? You want to check the skin underneath, because this is DC continuous. If they feel it, it doesn't feel like what you've been feeling, that buzz or thump or tingle. It feels like hot pricklies, needly, kind of. It's not a comfortable sensation. Some people don't feel it at all, and others at 2 are going, okay. Some it just feels hot. You know, different people describe it as different ways. Sometimes they can take a little more, a few minutes after, you know, kind of thing, and then they're okay. It's just that initial, it's not a real comfortable stimulation, basically. Okay? Check under the skin, because you're going to have both of them, your active and your dispersive, especially under your negative, because you're going to be getting the hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide. If there's any redness, you treat with witch hazel. Just an astringent, just put on the towel, put on gauze or whatever. Just wipe it a little bit and tell them, okay, the redness should go away in a couple of hours. But it is a normal response right under the pad.
When do you check again?
At the end of the treatment, when you take the pads off. Okay? But when they come back, then you're looking to see were there any blisters or, you know, something else that lets you know maybe you were a little hot. But treat with witch hazel, it'll take the sting out. It's not a raised red, it's not an allergic reaction, it's just the chemical reaction. So it is very funny, it's the same shape of your pads, you'll see it on there. But even if this is on your target site and this is somewhere else, you may be red up here, not where your target site is. Okay? Warm water is nicer on your patients. I've got these wet, but it's cold now, so it might need to be more. You do definitely want to use the gauze on this so that you don't get the medication in your sponge, and then you're forever doing iontophoresis with that sponge. Okay? So that's the Mettler, and you can use you could use liquids that you would put on there, maybe put a gauze and then another dry gauze on top. If you wanted to saturate that in the liquid, you could use creams and lotions, you know, so it's not specific to any one medication. Like I said, we've got 2 we routinely use. Okay? So that's the Mettler.